What is going on, guys? This is Gale Rock here again, and we've got another tier ranking of another horror game. Since we're all horror fans here on this channel, especially me, we did Silent Hill already. Now it's time for Resident Evil. Now, if you watched my Silent Hill video, you may have heard me say that I liked Silent Hill a little bit more than Resident Evil. And I'm sorry if that garnered a bunch of criticism and hate, but you know what, guys? It's just Silent Hill is a little bit. I like psychological horror like that. It's just it gets me better. Resident Evil, even though there are some games that have psychological horror in them, some of the Resident Evil games do have a kind of a really spooky, like psychological, mess with your mind type of stuff. But I'd say in general, Resident Evil is like it's definitely scary, but it's definitely like actiony horror, especially the movies. So we're just gonna rank all of the games all the way up to, I believe, Resident Evil 4 the remake, and we'll go from there. So these are in an odd order. They're not going from first to last. So looks like they just intentionally did it like randomly, which I like because I don't want it to be like Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil. Unless you want me to do that, I guess I could do that. But I want to do it in like this order. So we'll start with the first one here. So a little bit of backstory of me and Resident Evil. My first game was Resident Evil 2 on Nintendo 64. Actually, funnily enough, my grandmother bought me that game, not knowing that it was a rated mature game. And I was 13, I believe, when I first played it. I think so. So yeah, quite a while ago. But she bought it for me, and sorry, probably should mute that. There we go. In fact, let me just throw it on the ground. Anyway, back to it. So yes, Resident Evil 2 was my first game, and then from there on, I kind of just kind of played. Honestly, most of these except for there's a couple in here I haven't played, but no, actually I think I've played most of these. There's a couple in here. If I haven't played it, of course I'm not going to rank it, and I'll let you know. So first one, Resident Evil Code Veronica. I believe this was on Dreamcast, as well as I think they ported it to. Correct me if I'm wrong. PlayStation 2 as well, but I believe I played this on Dreamcast. I had a Sega Dreamcast. I was one of the few people that had a Sega Dreamcast. So Code Veronica, honestly, solid game. Very, very interesting story. You know, like Claire's in it. Really good. I don't know. Like, there's not much to say about this game. I really liked the story. I really liked, it was like the cutscenes had a lot of action to them too. That was probably the most action I've seen in Resident Evil cutscenes. This was the first time I saw like, wow, there's a lot of like really detailed action scenes. So I'm gonna give Code Veronica an A. Just because I think we'll get down the line, but yeah, I'm gonna give it an A. Just kind of started off. I really thought it was a solid game. I enjoyed it a lot playing it. I really liked the monster design in it. Like I believe the plant monsters are in it and stuff like that. Or was it something? I mean, my memory is fog. I played this on Dreamcast. Like that's a long time ago. But Code Veronica, I remember having a lot of fun with that one. I have no idea what this says. Infam Resident Evil. I'm gonna skip that one. Resident Evil 4. I mean, do I really gotta say it? S tier. Resident Evil 4 like redefined Resident Evil. Amazing game. I mean, I played it on GameCube. It truly like just took it in the right direction. It changed a lot of the games. Over the shoulder firing, the combat system changed, the quick time events. There's so much to it. It was very scary, very violent. And watching Leon's head get chopped off and like with a chainsaw, like it was just, and the graphics just were so much better than previous games. they literally just knocked it out of the park. Resident Evil 4, and to anyone here, you know, it's literally the game that kind of brought Resident Evil back to life. No pun intended. Um, Next, let's see, Resident Evil, The Mercenaries. Never played that. Operation Raccoon City. Man, I know I played that, but not enough to really make an assessment on it. So I'm gonna skip it so people don't get mad at me. Biohazard, Resident Evil 7. Okay, so again, this is what I consider they were trying to do with Resident Evil 4. They did this with Resident Evil 7. They kind of changed it up again. They made it like, I remember when it shocked me when I first saw the trailer. It's like, oh, wait, it's like first person now. Is that what the direction they're going in? I'm like, okay, I guess that makes sense. And I wasn't vibing on it, but I finally played it, and it's a really good game. Really good story, like very scary, very intense. So I'm gonna put Resident Evil Biohazard. Man, that's tough. I don't want to put it S because that's like amazing tier. So I want to put it A. Up there with Code Veronica. Resident Evil 7 was like, it was one of those games I didn't want to play because I was like, this doesn't look like Resident Evil. And I played it and it was actually very good. And just really good, you know? And I don't know if the next one, because I don't know if you guys know, they announced that they're working on the next Resident Evil. If it's first person again, I'd honestly buy it, you know? They sold me on it, you know? That shows you how good, if you execute something properly, write a good story for it, it does a really good job. Revelations. Okay, so Revelations. Ooh. Okay, so this was kind of like another direction they took it in. It felt like a rushed game. Not gonna lie, I might anger some people with that, but it felt rushed. It felt like, not like, I don't know, like they just like, hey, we need a game done within less than a year. Can you just crank one out real quick? And that's what Revelations felt like. So I'm gonna give it a C. Nothing special. Now we're back to Resident Evil 4 again, the remake. So the remake was good. It definitely changed the original Resident Evil. Um, I mean, they did change it, but not very. They actually changed quite a bit of it. But it's kind of the same thing though. It's kind of like similar in a way. So to me, I don't know. They did an amazing job though. I'm gonna give it S, just because we've got other remakes coming, and Resident Evil 4 remake deserves an S. I think it got it was nominated for Game of the Year. Very good. I mean, they did very good. I only say this because we're getting to another one here. In fact, I'll just grab it. Resident Evil 3 was a remake. I'm not gonna lie. I played Resident Evil 2 remake, then Resident Evil 3. Resident Evil 3 remake was definitely the weaker of all of those three remakes. I'm just being honest. It was good, but it definitely was like, I don't know. Maybe I think it's just because Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4 were just amazing games that I look at Resident Evil 3 and I'm like, that's probably the weaker of the series, but doesn't mean it's a bad game. So I guess I'll rank this one right now. I'll give that an A because like I said, it's still a solid game. You know, like nothing really too, like, I don't know. I feel like the original Resident Evil 3 wasn't a great game either. Not a bad game. It just wasn't. It was like the weaker of Resident Evil 1 and 2. Like 3 was kind of taking an odd direction. But you know what? We're gonna put that B. I'm gonna put that B. And I'm gonna put the remake 4 just because this is gonna be the standard Resident Evil 4, the original. Like it just like amazing game, amazing. And a remake. I don't think a remake should sit next to the original. That's how I'm gonna do this. So now that we're back here, I never played Survivor. Village, I did play. Village, I'll put Village up there on A tier as well. So the original Resident Evil, the 7, the first person, and they continued the first person. And honestly, it's the same character as well. The Village had a very good story. Honestly, it made me tear up a little bit in the end, and the villain design was really cool. I really thought it was good. You know, it was almost like you were fighting, like I don't know, just unique villains. They all had their unique little trait. It reminded me of like almost like Metal Gear Solid villains, how they all have their weird unique trait. I really liked Chris Redfield in Resident Evil Village. Like he's just badass and like completely different from the original. You know, and especially from the Resident Evil 5 Chris, that was kind of like a roided out freak. He was kind of like a more serious and like I don't give a damn type Chris. So where are we at here? Outbreak. I don't think I played that one. That's File 2. That's not the original. Did I play Outbreak? I don't think so. Gaiden, of course I didn't play. Re:Verse never played. This is, I'm assuming this is the original Resident Evil because that's the original poster. Yes, that's the original Resident Evil. So the original Resident Evil. Oh man, see that's tough because that's like a classic. That's like classic Resident Evil. And I want out of nostalgia just to throw it up there. And I know honestly, yes, it's aged, and man, that's tough. Like I'm gonna put it up on S just because it was literally the first Resident Evil game, and it as a kid it scared me. It was amazing. The dogs breaking in the windows, all the scary stuff that happened in it. I love the pre-rendered like environments and stuff like that. I thought it was really cool. It looked like almost like photorealistic in a way, and just like I'm not photorealistic, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I would put you got to give the original Resident Evil like an S tier. I don't know why it's S plus, but whoever made this, but I would definitely rank it S just because it's like the original, and I don't know. I got to put it up there. Wasn't the first one I played, but it was definitely a good one. What do we got here? Ooh, the remake. Dang, the remake was very good. I love all the Resident Evil remakes, and the original Resident Evil remake was honestly fantastic. Better cutscenes, better graphics. You know, just changed like honestly, it wasn't they stuck very close to the original, but yeah, we will put that. Ooh, that's tough. I know I said I didn't want to put them on the same thing, but when I had a GameCube, when all these Resident Evil games for some reason being ported to GameCube, I don't know if Nintendo cut a deal with Resident Evil or something or Capcom, but I would definitely say that original remake of Resident Evil, like I loved it. It blew me away. It was incredible to play my favorite like series like in like just really good graphics, really amazing cutscenes, like and just I don't know, just to kind of relive it so much better. So I guess we could rank. Can you move these? Oh yeah, you can rank on which one you like the best. I'm gonna put this here actually. No, we'll put it right there, just because like this is the OG. That's why it gets a bump up. But this was a very good game. The remake of Resident Evil. Let's see. Outbreak. I did play Outbreak. I never played File 2. Okay, so Outbreak, that was like another like rushed game. Not much to it. I'm gonna give it a C. It's just I don't know. It was literally like, hey, let's make like a Resident Evil game really fast and just launch it out at the peak of Resident Evil's career just to get people to spend like $50 on a game. Back when games were $50. All right, so here we got Resident Evil 2. Okay, this is an easy one. So this was, as I mentioned, the first Resident Evil game I played. And I'm going to actually bump this up here in front of all of these right next to Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 2 was my first horror game I ever played, so I'm a little biased on it. But incredible story. I loved like the two different stories between Claire and Chris Redfield. Not Chris, sorry, Claire and Leon Kennedy. Chris is not in Resident Evil 2. It's his sister. And you know, like just you got to play through both of them. It was scary, frightening. I love the police station, like the empty, scary police station with zombies in it, and it was just it's so much to me like better than the original Resident Evil. And yes, I played it first, and then I played the other Resident Evil afterwards. But Resident Evil 2 for me is like the goat of every Resident Evil game, and maybe it's I have like nostalgia or something for it because it was the first one I played. But overall, just a well-rounded game. You know, well-rounded game. Like with the creature design, with the bosses, with like the William Birkin and all that stuff, and the final. It was incredible. So much, like so awesome. I really thought such a good game. Resident Evil 6. Okay, this is the one with the weird six of I think I don't know if you guys remember the meme of the giraffe and stuff, but I don't I don't know why Resident Evil 6 is so high up here, but Resident Evil 6 it kind of so if you were to think of it as not the sequel to the original Resident Evil 4, it was kind of like where they're like, "Hey, like we did Resident Evil 4 and then they released Resident Evil 5 and they're like, let's do Resident Evil 6 and let's like cram every character into it and blah blah blah." It's like, man, it was really just a swing and a miss for them. I mean, it was definitely the weaker of the 4, 5 and 6. It was pretty bad. I'm oh god, I can't D tier it. If I D tier Resident Evil 6, like Outbreak needs to be down here in Revelations. So if I D tier Resident Evil 6, like I can't put it under Outbreak and Revelations. Resident Evil 6 is better than those two games. You might disagree, but it's playable. At least it's playable, and they tried. It's just the story's weak. I, you know, but anyway, moving on. We have, let's see here, the Umbrella Chronicles. I don't think I played that. I don't know what this is. Dragon Weird RE-verse. I never played. Resident Evil 3 I did play. Nemesis. This was also on the original PlayStation. This was like, it's weird. They released the 3 Resident Evil games on the original PlayStation. Wow, they cranked these out pretty fast. Nemesis, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. I'm going to put it up here with the thing. Again, not an amazing game. Kind of like just a continuation story for Jill. And I love the Nemesis, and all that stuff. But I definitely would have to give that like a B tier. Same, it's funny, even the remakes on B. Just because, like, I don't know, the story overall was not scary. It was more action. Like, I can't even describe it. It wasn't scary to me. It wasn't frightening. So, sorry, Resident Evil 3 fans. And I love Nemesis. I think he's an awesome villain. But overall, just, no, I think I'd have to put that as a B, unfortunately. And I know people are going to like, oh, blah, 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 whatever. Dead Aim. We'll give that a C. I'm just going to go through it quickly because Dead Aim it is basically an arcade shooter for Resident Evil. I think it was on Dreamcast. I can't remember. Just your typical arcade shooter with like pretty fun stuff. It's fun, but it's like just basically like they took it to a company and they're like, "Hey, make a Resident Evil game that's an arcade shooter." Here's a good one. Resident Evil 0. So this came out after Resident Evil 1 remake on GameCube. This was also a GameCube game. I distinctively remember getting this for Christmas, and I loved it. I'm not gonna lie. It's up there with the top of the top. Again, this could be nostalgia for me, but I just really, I don't know, just like I love, like it's kind of like a side story of what was happening with geez, I can't remember her name. I can't remember her name, but she's one of my favorite Resident Evil characters. What is that girl's name? Oh my gosh, I'm terrible. I have really bad memory, guys. But this little lady right here, she's one, and I think they're remaking this Resident Evil Zero right now. I'm gonna be really excited for that because Resident Evil Zero was definitely S tier for me. Um, I don't know why. I mean, I think there's like leeches in it or something. Interesting monster design. Again, it could be like a nostalgia thing for me, just because Resident Evil Zero was just. I mean, when I got it, I was like, it was like one of those things when you're younger and you're like, oh, I got this game. And nowadays, when you're an adult, it's like, oh, I got this game. I want to play it. Now, back then, it was like you were thrilled and you like stayed up all night trying to play that game. And Resident Evil Zero, amazing story, amazing creature design. What is that girl's name? Oh my gosh, that's gonna drive me nuts. I should know her name because she's one of the famous. I don't know, guys. You gotta tell me in the comments. Like I have a very bad memory, So I'm trying to remember this girl's Rebecca. Rebecca Chambers. Yes, Rebecca Chambers is. This is probably why I'm being biased. She is my favorite female Resident Evil character, and then Claire next, and then maybe Jill. Rebecca, I don't know why I like Rebecca so much. She's just like she's medical, she's like small and she's just I don't know. Like you would think she's weak, but she's not. I guess that's what it is. And then Billy's okay. Billy's like the guy with the weird tattoo, like the rock tattoo and stuff. He's all right, but that's probably I'd had to give Resident Evil Zero S rank. Man, it just because it was just like at the time, like it blew me away. I loved it. You know, so we're gonna keep going on here. Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil Resistance. I did play this, and I don't remember a lot of it, but I didn't really like it, so we'll probably just put it right there on a C. Um, just kind of a meh game. In fact, here, D. Not very good. It was one of those things you played like I think it's multiplayer. You play it once and you're like, I don't want to play this anymore. Um, Umbrella Chronicles. I think we already did that one. A Resident Evil 2 remake. Okay, so this was like the first, I think, newer Resident Evil remake from like when did this come out? Like 2020, 2019. So this was like when they started remaking the games once again because they've done it already a couple times. So this is like the third time they're coming back. Like, hey, we're gonna remake Resident Evil 2. I was excited, and I played it and it was amazing. It was incredible. Just like everything, like it's not just like they're remaking it; they're changing it entirely. There's a lot. The classic scenes are still there, but there's a lot to it, and they're just like revamping it and giving you a whole new game experience, and that takes a lot instead of just being like whatever The Last of Us does, where it's like, oh, we're gonna remaster Last of Us, and it's basically the same game. We're gonna charge you $60 for it. So this was definitely, I would say, easily S tier. So and then obviously Resident Evil 2 was one of my favorite games, so I'd give that an S. Umbrella Corps. I believe I played this, but not enough to remember. I did play it. That's a D. All right. So we've got some more here. Resident Evil 5. Okay, so not quite as good as the original Resident Evil 4. And Chris is like super gigantic and roided out. I did like Shiva or Sheba. I really liked her character a lot. I did like that it was kind of a different environment. It was based in Africa, and like I said, Resident Evil 6. Where is that? That's at C. So this is definitely above Resident Evil 6. So we'll give that a B. That's about where it deserves to be. I definitely think that it's like I said, not as good as Resident Evil 4, but better than 6 for sure. Yeah, and then there's the whole joke about Chris punching a rock, which made no sense in the game, but it happened, and it's unfortunately it existed and it still exists to this day. But I would definitely put that as a B tier game. It's worth playing. It's fun, you know, like it's pretty much Resident Evil 4, but with like I think a little bit better graphics, and then it just focuses around Chris now, and they're in Africa, and like I don't remember much after that. The zombies are like African people now, which is I think it actually got a lot of I think got in trouble for being like racist or something. I can't remember, but yeah. So anyway, we got one left because these I did not play. Yeah. Okay, so this actually I played recently because it was on Game Pass. Um, Not very good. I'm not gonna lie. It's workable. It's I think it's like a co-op Resident Evil game or a multiplayer Resident Evil game. You can play with other people, but it definitely, especially for a newer game, it definitely feels like another like half-assed attempt at Resident Evil. It like all these games you see here, except maybe this one. These are all like, hey, we need to make a Resident Evil game that we can just throw out there that people can will buy just to make some money. You know, it's like similar to what Metal Gear Survive did to Metal Gear. It's just like we need another Resident Evil game, and we want to just make money on it, and we need it out as fast as possible. And I don't care who makes it. That's what Revelations is to me, and this is pretty much where it belongs. Is right there. So, um, yeah. So that's about it for the Resident Evil games. So, kind of just to redo or go through everything again, I would definitely say so. We have Resident Evil 4, obviously. I mean, I'm putting these in order. In fact, let me change these around so you can kind of see. This is S, but this is kind of the order it's going to be in. So we're going to move this to right, I don't know, right there. Put this there. And then, I don't know, we'll put it right there. And this is actually pretty accurate. No, not quite. Yeah, about right there. This. Oh man, that's tough. Yeah, this is about accurate. That's about right. Okay, that's good. So yeah, so we have Resident Evil 4, S tier. I think we all saw that coming. Resident Evil 2, the original, S tier. From I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil 2. Again, nostalgia. Resident Evil 0, I give it an S tier just because this is when I was like super excited to replay the Resident Evil remakes. And actually, Zero wasn't a remake. I forgot. Zero isn't a remake. It's like a not necessarily a prequel. It's just you see you're basically doing what Rebecca, did during the whole mansion incident, I believe. So it's not really a prequel. It's just you're when because Rebecca was in the first game, but you don't see her as much, and then you see kind of this is what Rebecca did the whole time. So yeah, the original Resident Evil remake. We'll put that right there. Um, Amazing game, like great graphics. It's just exactly what we wanted. The original Resident Evil, just for nostalgia purposes, out there at the top as S tier, just because like it just started it all. And then the Resident Evil 2 remake obviously has to be up there. But yeah, this is my list. If you guys disagree with it, please feel free to comment below. Tell me your favorite 3 Resident Evil games, and tell me your 3 least favorite Resident Evil games. And share it below and let me know. And then thank you for watching, guys. Spending time with me as I ranked these Resident Evil games. And please like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, please. And it really helps with the algorithm. And I appreciate you guys, spending time with me. And if, like I said, if you disagree, let me know in the comments and tell me your least favorite Resident Evil games or top 3. Because like top 3 and then least favorite 3, and then we'll go from there. So I can judge you guys in the comments. I'm just kidding. I won't judge you. But thanks, guys. Have a wonderful day. Take care. I'll see you next time.